And
welcome
to
another
episode
of
Laying
Down
the
Law.
Who?
Nah.
Okay, abort,
Right.
abort.
Abort. Okay. Hello and welcome to another episode of Laying Down the Lore 40k, a lore podcast in which we aim to separate our Drukhari from our Dark Angels, our Tyranids from our Tau, and our craft worlds from our Chaos Marines, and generally ask, what's up with this Warhammer 40k stuff? My name is Ben Barber, and I know pretty much fuck all about 40k. With me is my co-host Christopher Crowlin Allen,
Hello there.
who knows absolutely fuck all about 40k,
Yeah. Aha.
and my dear brother Darren,
What? Why is it 7 o'clock in the morning?
who knows so much about 40k it's a wonder he has time to do anything else. Over the years, this dichotomy between our levels of understanding became clear, and this series is an attempt to address that ignorance.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Hooray.
I feel like we're definitely going to
hooray.
keep the word about thing in, so it was a decent effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm just glad I wasn't the first one to make a mistake.
Yeah. That's all that matters.
The
all
reason
that
that we were
matters.
trying to do that, guys, is that both the Barber boys are ill. And
Can't you tell by looking at us?
and I was trying to share the responsibility, the burden.
I feel ill just looking at you boys.
Isn't that the
You
case
look
all
at-
the time?
Oh.
This is Crowl on a good day. I think it was in the other show we were talking about like the emphasis when I say who knows absolutely fuck all about.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I got it there, didn't
Mm.
I? Like absolutely
emphasis.
fuck all.
Sounds
It
like a
wasn't,
90s like pinnacle hip hop album. The Emphasis. Or something from 40k.
Yeah.
Whichever's more appropriate for this moment.
With your rappers, Tyrion and Teclis. No, hold on.
So you feeling shit, are you, lads?
Yeah. I was just to bookend that. The emphasis does sound like a really weird sex move involving Gregorian chants.
It sounds like a lot of things today. It's
Such as
whatever
me
you want
today,
it to be.
Yeah. Ooh, hi.
They chant to keep rhythm.
Okay. Oh, get my coat.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one.
Right. So, thank you to everyone that supports the show. You guys are fucking mint. I am like delirious with how many painkillers I've taken this morning.
So I don't actually know if you are mint.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
This
yeah.
may be
I don't
the
even know
illness
if you're
or the
listening.
drugs talking. Yeah.
Yeah, like, so Patreon, that's a thing that you can do if you want. It's £3.
Chris.
Shut up, Dar. Stop distracting me.
Share this burden with me.
Kral, I meant to ask you something about Patreon.
Yeah,
Go
man.
for it.
Patreon is
£3.
to change your life for the mere cost of £3 a month. Your life will be changed forever by joining our wholesome, delightful, joyful, pleasurable, stimulating, exciting, galvanized, reinforced Discord group.
Nice, Kral. Okay, sweet.
I see old
Kralsaurus.
Thesaurus Kral is flying again.
Kralsaurus?
Krallosaurus.
That's the campus dinosaur I've ever seen.
Go get him, tiger.
And you can buy merch if you want it as well. That's the thing. We've got a merch store, and we definitely have stuff on there that we have not been told to take down yet. So you can go on there and buy stuff with that.
Well,
on.
we have we have other stuff that we haven't been asked.
Yeah, we've got other
Take
stuff
down.
that we've. Haven't
Do
been
we
asked to
have
take
question? I'm asking for a friend. Do we have branded ibuprofen?
down. Yeah, but it's branded
It's a
on the
shower
inside,
curtain.
so you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shower curtain with our
It's in the
faces
form
on
of a
it.
shower curtain.
It still weirds me out. Yeah.
And if you're into the hobby, you can head over to the Quartermaster link. It's now called the Quartermaster link. Don't ask why. We had a conversation. It made sense at the time. And you'll find all of our affiliate links on there. And you can go and buy paints and miniatures and all sorts of groovy shit. And that helps us keep making this awful drivel and sending it out to you free of charge. Now, Kralbuman.
What?
You know what time it is.
Citizen of the Imperium, it's time for frontal lobotomy or bottle in front of me.
Hooray! You celebrated through a yawn. Excuse me.
Oh, yay.
Woot.
Right. Oh, shit. Questions. I am completely unprepared for this episode.
Brilliant.
I haven't got any questions. Right, Dar, you're up.
What?
Randall has completely...
Randall. You're up for a lobotomy.
To us. Do you want to text me a few and I'll do them, or do you want to do them?
What, right now?
You go on, Darren, quiz both of us. And then decide which one of us after this one deserves the lobotomy. Quick fire lobotomy round.
Hold on, I'm not taking responsible for your
responsibility,
62.0%.
not responsible.
I'm not going to take responsibility. Yeah, that's true. Wow, this is going well, isn't it? I'm not going to take responsibility for the 62.07% that you're currently on.
62%? That's like 61% better than I thought I was doing. Well, one, Ben, yes, you are. And two, you forgot the questions. So this is what you get.
I didn't forget anything. It was Randall, that motherfucker.
All right, Ben, here it comes. What did we talk about last episode?
Tyranids in your face.
Tyranids in my face. Tyranid weaponry, actually, Ben. Sorry.
Oh, yeah,
that is one wrong. Name 3 Tyranid weapons.
The Death Spitter?
Yes.
Yes. The Poo Flinger.
Sort of.
Sort
of. Yeah.
Okay, you name 3, Kral.
The Death Spitter. The Harlequin's Kiss. The
AKA
Lasgun.
The Ravager. I'm definitely not reading this from whatever it was that Dar posted on WhatsApp. These are actually the names of the
those are organisms that we're going to cover. Spoilers.
Crack missiles.
From what I hear, they're fiercely Moorish.
bunch of addiction.
Right, no,
Profit.
Seriously. Dar, give Kral some questions. We'll go 3 questions.
What precedes the hive fleets when they come into a system?
Is it... I can think of it, but I can't think of the name. I'll try and describe it. That before the fleets, you get the fleet bone is connected to the scout bone. The scout bone is connected to the thing bone. And then this big alarm goes off, which attracts
a Wooga. That's right.
The Wooga. A Vuvuzela. Yeah.
A Vuvuzela. How racially insensitive of you, Chris.
No, give up.
Well, it was a trick question because it could be one of 2 things. It was either gene stealers who would infiltrate ahead of hive fleets to infect planets with their gene stealery kind of... How would you describe it?
Genes.
Jism.
Non-consensual DNA kiss.
Oh, yeah. The Ovi imposter.
The oviposter.
The Ovi imposter syndrome. I get that a lot.
That's where you think someone has put DNA inside of you. The other one was the shadow in the warp, where it's this bow wave of kind of psychic nullification that causes the astropaths and psychers to go completely bonkers. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that's like that's the first sign that there's a fleet arriving. Is the astropaths go.
They get a little tingle on their earlobe, or they're like like weather watchers. We're like, oh, knees playing up, storms are brewing, kind of thing.
Smells like Tyranids.
Would it kill them, the astropaths? That kind of modification?
It can do, yes, in extreme circumstances, as the fleets get nearer and nearer, or as the ships get nearer and nearer.
But astropaths are just like on a fine balance of survival anyway, don't they? They've got so much psychic power. Like, it doesn't take much. You could just like pop a balloon behind them and bang, dead.
Yeah, it's very much like me and Ben this morning. Yeah.
Kral, there were two answers for that one, and you didn't get either. I'm going to give you -1. How'd you feel about that?
Whatevs.
Okay.
Fuck you. That's how I feel about that. Fuck you.
Because these are not official inquisitorial questions.
Exactly. They are invalid, not
I think
a valid.
You'll find that this seal of approval from Inquisitor Randall McDaniel gives me authority.
How many... Okay, question the second. How many phases are there when a Tyranid fleet takes over a planet?
There's the dress rehearsal. There's 4 of them.
Yes, correct. Moving on.
Yeah.
The
Nice.
what type of material do the Tyranid hive fleets not absorb?
Oh, take your pick. Brick, wraithbone, carbon fiber, microplastics.
I can see you kind of dancing around the edges of the correct answer, which was inorganic material.
Inorganic.
And inorganic material.
Nice. Well done, Kral.
Yeah, there we go. That
would have been the quickest way to have answered that. So yeah. But you get my point. You get my gist.
Yeah. No, you were going for detail. I appreciate that. that answer.
And in fact, so much detail.
Ben, whoa! I've finished your job. You can carry on now.
Right, so the content for this episode, I'm going to talk about. I don't know what. I don't even know where we go. Well done, Kral. By the way, you are on.
Thank you.
How many are you on?
On a one-way ticket to Lobotomy Town. Yeah.
Oh, you're up to 68%, almost 69%, Kral.
Nice.
Not sure how the math works on that, but fuck it. Who gives a shit? Eh?
It's all arbitrary anyway, because there is no threshold to pass, and also I'll get lobotomized whenever Inquisitor Randley Dangly decides to get lobotomized.
There is a threshold pass. It's 90%.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, now I know. I would have tried harder.
Yeah.
We've literally had this conversation several times already, but don't worry about it. I knew you weren't paying attention. Right, okay. Dar, what's the fucking crack? Thanks for doing my job, by the way.
That's all right, bud.
And thanks for giving me the answers.
Shut up, Kral. Shh.
All of you are welcome, except Randall. He can go fuck himself.
Yeah. Fucking Randall.
So, last episode we talked about Tyranids, their kind of modus operandi, some of their weapons, and we went into a bit of detail about the process they use to take over a planet, where they will infiltrate, disrupt, and then they'll start snacking, and then they'll liquefy when they're full into these digestion pools, and they build huge capillary towers that suck up all of the kind of organic material, the planetary soup, planet udders. Jesus H. Tap Dance Christ, I'm not well enough to cope with the mental image of planetary udders.
They're always placed in groups of 6.
Yes, now that's amusing because of the Slanesh reference, but also Tyranids have 6 limbs. So well done, Ben. I give you a point.
Oh, get it. Kral, I'm going to give you that point for the one that you missed.
You're now on 70.
You're now on 72.
But charge you interest on the point that I've just given you.
Oh, no, hold on.
That's
hold
banking.
on. I have massively mistaken that. You're on 65.
You're on 72. No, 65. Wait, 30. Yeah.
I don't trust your calculations, Benny.
Anyway, Tyranids.
Flog that horse.
Flog it.
Horse.
So we discussed how the process for them taking over a planet and where it goes, which is into the hive fleets, where the Norn Queen, who is the kind of the genetic factory or factory/assembly line of the Tyranid hive fleets, produces more and different types of organism.
Is she a slapper? Just sits there eating cake, spawning, watching shit TV. Ricky!
Okay, skirting away from Chris's childhood trauma, we'll... what I thought we'd do is just touch on, not literally, the types of organism that are in Tyranid hive fleets, and then move on to look at the kind of 4 invasion waves that have hit the Imperium so far. So I have sent you all an image, and dear listeners, this will be in the show notes. It's a Tyranid organism, that's a tricky word to say when you're sick, organism identification guide called Know Your Foe. And this is from 3rd edition. So it's compared to the sheer volume of organisms you can have in your Tyranid army now. How would you describe it? It's really kind of the core. These are the ones that all the other organisms have been built off of in some fashion. So the top row there, you've got the Rippers, which are the little...
Ripper, mate.
Those are the really angry squigs of the Tyranid hive fleet. So after all resistance has been quashed, these are the ones that come in huge carpets, like cities wide, and just eat everything. And when they're completely full, they head to a digestion pool, which is, as we mentioned last episode, these are the things, big, huge kind of lakes of acid that these things crawl into and are dissolved and thus then hoovered up by the capillary towers. Other vacuum cleaner brands are available. The next couple there, we see the shadow of, or the silhouette even, of a being carrying a gun in its forelimbs. And that's called a termagant. And that's one of the most common variants of Tyranids when they invade a planet.
I'm just like looking around, you're like, and it's holding a gun in its forelimb. I'm like, I can't tell what's a limb and a gun.
Yeah. Do you see the things that are
that's a limb or a gun?
Yeah. So see all the things that are poking down, those are legs. And then the gun is at the front.
Okay. Why have they got crosshairs on them?
Those are the areas for which you're to aim as an Imperial soldier to guarantee a kill.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
And so termagants really are the foot soldiers of the Tyranid hive fleets, and they come in various flavors. Collectively, they're known as gaunts. So you've got termagants, hormagaunts, which is one next to it, which really is, how to describe it? It's the alien xenomorph. That's really what a hormagaunt is.
Just run at you.
Yeah, it's about the same size.
You've not seen Aliens, have you, Krell?
Moo. Isn't that the noise they make?
It's just cows motorboating for some reason.
So I would say about 85 to 90% of a Tyranid invasion force would be Ripper swarms and gaunts. Now, you see next to it a kind of winged variant. They're referred to as gargoyles. That's effectively just a hormagaunt with wings, or a termagant with wings. So between the Ripper swarms, the various flavors of gaunts and gargoyles, you could say easily somewhere between 85 to 90% of all Tyranid life forms in an invasion fleet are some flavor of those 4. So in terms of later editions, what you see is the kind of the range of gaunts that you can include have grown up to and including in the 10th edition. You're now looking at beings like neurogaunts and blaster gaunts. Those kind of the 2 big new versions that plug in. Now the blaster gaunts are, have you seen those ants that get infected with is it cordyceps?
The thing goes out of them.
It turns them into a zombie, and they kind of crawl up to a high area and then spore.
Yeah.
Barb gaunts are that, but it's a gun.
I'm sorry, did you say blaster? You said barb gaunt.
A barb gaunt, yes.
Not a
Sorry,
blaster
blaster
gaunt,
gaunt. A barb
A
gaunt.
crone barber gaunt. Got it.
So the barb gaunt is in fact infected with a kind of infected might be the wrong word. It's not parasitic, but it's a symbiotic attachment which kind of infects them, and it grows an enormous cannon out of their one of their shoulders.
Wow!
And the miniatures are quite funny because the gaunt head is kind of flopping down on the ground, and the gun has a little eye on it, so it's taken over the organism
cool.
to provide like squad support level ranged weapons.
What do you think the etymology of gaunt is in this instance? Because gaunt it's not a word that kind of strikes you with power, is it? like I've been gaunt in the past, and it's
Gaunt
in my more party years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well, it's because they're svelte. Yeah,
Svelte.
They're thinner than a lot of the other organisms. So if the other big addition in 10th edition is the kind of prefix of neuro. So they've really upped the kind of psychic horror of the Tyranids, where you have various different life forms have a neuro version, which increases the kind of command and control of the hive mind. So a neurogaunt would be tacked into a unit of gaunts, regardless of the type of them, and it would strengthen the hold that the hive mind has over over those packs of beasts.
Like a Wi-Fi booster.
Amusement aside, that's exactly what it is.
Amazing. Can I have another point for that?
Nice.
I think Chris could get another point for that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I deserve one. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yep. Okay.
So the gaunt variants, the gargoyles and the ripper swarms are endemic within a Tyranid hive fleet, and then you get into the kind of more context-specific beasts. So the next row down, you've got gene stealers and Tyranid warriors. So the gene stealers we've discussed already. They're the shock assault troops of the Tyranid hive fleet, and the infiltrators and masters of gene stealer cults. The Tyranid warriors are the heavy infantry of a Tyranid hive fleet, and that's where you begin to see a lot of the larger ranged weapons and more vicious kind of close combat weapons come into play. So it's the basic version of it is armed with scything talons and a death spitter. I think we discussed that in a bit more detail last episode.
Is the Death Spitter the one that has the bug, that fires the bugs?
Yes, fires bugs,
Right.
yeah. The Tyranids then this is the kind of first real echelon of foot troops where all of them have a direct connection to the hive mind. And they're referred to as synapse creatures because they're able to project an area of command and control around smaller packs of beasties. Now, obviously, the Neurogaunt added in 10th edition will boost that range and the ability of that it will extend the range of that within the kind of basic forces. So those 6 types of creature form almost the entirety of the Tyranid hive fleets on a planet. You then get into the more specialized aspects of it. So we'll look at 3 that are imaged there, but there are significantly more, and we'll cover them in greater detail when we do the Tyranid deep dive. So you have a biovore, which is a mobile organic artillery piece. And so they fire.
Looks like a lurching Igor type character.
It's that kind of idea. It's given that this is in 3rd edition, the sculpts for them were quite small, and so a Space Marine would stand kind of equal in terms of height, even with it being hunched over the biovore. As the editions have progressed and the capacity to produce more detailed models at larger scale has increased, the Biovore now is a fairly significant, light to medium vehicle sized piece.
Right.
But the general principle is the same. It grows spores or giant kind of sacks of poison or explosive in its kind of lower haunches, and then those are spasmed out of the cannon on its back in the same manner as a mortar would be in kind of regular forces for our own reality. There are, of course, then variations of this in 10th edition. Is it 8th or 10th edition? I can't remember exactly which, where a pyrovore was added. And it's effectively the same chassis, in quotes, but the cannon on its back is either a acid spraying flamethrower of fairly gargantuan size.
What did you call me? You acid flaming, spewing flamethrower.
It would also shoot fireballs. So it is a level 9 wizard firing fireballs at people.
Amazing.
Pew, 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 pew.
While also being an aggressive cow. The next one we'll touch on is referred to as a Carnifex. Now,
Carney for short. It's a Carney.
Is the Biovore the little one?
Yeah, Biovore is the little one on the image, which is available in the show notes. The Carnifex it fulfills the same role as a dreadnought in a Space Marine army. It's for pure shock tactics. And, it absolutely tanks into wherever it needs to be and, savagely slices or explodes whatever needs slicing or explodes. There are
exploding, yeah.
Exploding, yeah. So there are.
Get on with it.
Yeah. There are, again, 8 or 9 different variations of a Carnifex. My favorite is the kind of siege variant, which has
has ladders attached to it.
The back carapace is fused solid into 2 big enormous rams coming out over its shoulder.
Oh, cool.
And it either has enormous claws, even by Tyranid standards, for cutting through metal and stone, or it has one enormous claw and a huge, almost like flail, like a wrecking ball. A bony shard organic wrecking ball that it uses to smash down doors and defenses. Yeah, and that would be good now if we could sculpt an undead Miley Cyrus strapped to sitting on the ball as it goes through.
Singing.
Then the kind of final tier, what was the top tier, is referred to as the hive tyrant, and these are the generals of the Tyranid forces, and they're aware, and they're also aware that they are aware. They effectively have an individual consciousness.
Holy shit!
And they're really proud of that. I'm aware that I'm aware. You're not even aware that I'm aware that you're aware that I'm aware. It's all a bit technical, darling.
But these are the generals of the Tyranid hive fleets, and again, there are various iterations of them. They are as heavily armed as the Carnifexes, but they're also leaders. And historically, if you were able to take out a hive tyrant, you would really disrupt your opponent's forces, because they're suddenly severed from the hive mind. So the fourth row, then, we're looking at the most specialized life forms in Tyranid hive fleet. The first we'll talk about is a lictor. And these are a cross between Predator from the Predator movies and a praying mantis. So, and they are somewhere around
their mates. Ow.
Oh, yeah. But they have the capacity that Space Marines have as well in the historical lore of if they eat your brains, they know everything you know. And so
are they aware that they're aware then? Because surely eating someone's brains and knowing what you know, there would have to be some level of sentience.
Yes, but they're aware that you're aware that you're aware.
Well, the joke's on you, bitch, because I'm not aware at all.
No, well, you know what? More correctly, they're aware that you were aware of your awareness. Because you're dead and no longer aware.
Because you're now brains.
Yeah.
It looks like it's been shot with a couple of arrows from behind. What's that?
Those are
nipples.
Nipples, yes. Those are, in fact, they're grappling spikes. So they fire them out of their chest and are able to ascend up sheer surfaces. So they're climbing aids. But also they will harpoon you and drag you forward.
The famous,
so you can be sliced.
The famous bouldering tyrannid.
Yeah, yeah, Mr. Chris.
I have a couple of queries. So first of all, tyrannids in general, are they more instinctive than kind of self-aware of being aware of being aware of being aware? So they're just acting on instinct, survive, conquer, and spread the tyrannid gospel, whatever. These lictors then that can absorb the knowledge and know-how of any of their victims, to what degree can they implement that? Can they become academically superior if they ate?
They can blend into the oil baron's
academic. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Can they?
Yeah, no.
Can they?
It's a great question.
Are they more civilized at that point?
No, what they are infiltrators. You know, they're supreme infiltrators. They actually have a kind of almost the is it the cuttlefish or the squid that can change color? You know, they've got chameleonic skin, so they can fade into the background. But what they're used for is establishing where the enemy is.
Right.
So they use the information they receive, they transmit back through the hive mind, so that the hive tyrants can say, okay, we're going to attack here or there, or the enemy, the most resistance is here, so let's go over there and make them unaware.
It's not a case of they eat their brains and be like, oh, this guy was a closet gay all his life. And that's fine. I'm just saying he was just hiding it from his family. Do you know what I mean? It's like, ooh,
or like he eats a brain and like he just suddenly is like, oh bloody hell, this is awfully chaotic, isn't it? Does he take on the personality?
I think really we could weaponize it and send out, as soon as we suspect there's a turned hive fleet, send out a load of people with Alzheimer's.
And hope that it spreads through the because he's connected to the hive mind, isn't he?
He can be, yes.
Then maybe it would we'd Independence Day them and just fucking give one Alzheimer's, and then they all just forget what the fuck is going on and then just leave.
But they don't take on the traits; they just gain the knowledge. Is that right?
Yes, they gain the knowledge. Yes, yeah.
Like, and
I was a right-handed tyrannid. I'm now a left-handed tyrannid. It's not like that.
No.
And also, you say they've got chameleonic changing skin, but they still look like abominations. They can be pink, blue, green, all the colours of the rainbow, but they've still got claws coming out the face.
Yes.
Yeah. They're not going to blend in at a social gathering, but they can blend into a wall, I think is
exactly.
It says on the notes next to it, training in the correct usage of Auspex essential. Is Auspex like a tracker?
It's it's a hand scanner.
A hand scanner.
For being
like when you go to the shops, scan as you go.
Boop. Yeah.
Boop, boop. Oh my god, a tyrannid!
Unidentified item on packing area. Please remove before continuing.
So those are not targets for shooting. That's actually where all the barcodes are.
Yeah. Oh my god, there's a hormigaunt in the vegetable aisle.
Okay, moving on. Another form of infiltration is done by the Raveners. Now, these are Tyrannid warriors, but they've got snaky bottoms, which is a name that Ben used to dance under.
It's like Ben. It's like Falco snake hips when he's on it in the club. Oh my god, that's creepy.
Terrifying.
So they tunnel in and kind of try and penetrate enemy lines from the rear and spray them down with the various organic juices that they are able to produce. Mostly
kind of
acidic.
like Naga-like, aren't they? Like serpentile with arms and appendages. Yeah,
exactly right. So what's interesting about the Raveners is that this is the smallest version of tunneling creature that they have. You get up to the mid-range is something like a Moloch, which is about 2 Land Raiders in size. It's fairly significant. And that's used to tunnel in sieges or in when you're trying to get your troops in behind enemy lines. And so once they get through, once the Moloch bursts through, you then have swarms of Hormagaunts or Termagants or any of the other Gaunts come through behind them. So they are kind of siege engineers, in quotes, for tunneling.
I love how you said the most interesting aspect of the Ravener is it's like, yeah, if they were coming at me, I wouldn't be like, you know what? The most interesting thing I've observed about the Ravener is like, there's a fucking snake with claws coming at me. How?
That's, I mean, it just highlights you're not a big picture guy, Kral. I mean, that's all that.
Know your foe. Learn their weakness and use it to crush them. Citizen, as an Imperial Guard, you will be the finest humanity has to offer, sort of. You will have access to the best gear, the biggest guns, and the strongest tanks, probably. But when it comes to the crunch, it'll be down to you, your steadfast comrades, and a can-do attitude. And most importantly, intel. Our enemies are stronger, faster, and outnumber us millions to one. But if you know where to aim to hit their balls, humanity will prevail. The Imperial Guard. Not for democracy, not for survival, but for guts and glory. Join today and get your Know Your Foe pamphlet 100% free.
So the final life form, which sort of looks like a lollipop there in the bottom right,
Lollipop.
was referred to as a zoanthrope. And this is a psychic cannon Tyranid life form, which is, if you look at the miniature, it's a giant brain with a body hanging off the bottom of it.
Wow.
Where the Biovore sends explosive spores, kind of artillery pieces, this sends psychic artillery rounds into the enemy. It causes terror, is one of the big things. So it can really disrupt your, I was going to say, it can really disrupt your day. It can really disrupt your forces' capacity to make war by effectively getting them all to bolt.
Does it float?
Yes, it floats.
Right.
Yeah, I imagine like playing like like is it StarCraft or something like that, and yeah, similarly they've got like I can't remember what they call them now. What they're the alien buggy Tyranid type
Zerg
faction that you can be.
Is it the
Zerg?
Zerg?
I think that's it. Yeah, very like it's copy and paste of Tyranids basically, and you've got like your various kind of rank and file units. Like you say, a shitload of Rippers, Termagants, and Hormagaunts and whatnot. Your various kind of heavy troops, but then you got your one special zoanthrope, which just kind of floats slowly towards the enemy. And when you see it coming toward you, like, fuck, take it out. And it's caused absolute mayhem. It costs you like all the resources to produce in the Zerg factory. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I see it anyway.
That's the way you see it.
Anyway, Krallen, shut up.
Yeah. So the only other Tyranid, which was available as a miniature for 3rd edition, but isn't in the Know Your Foe, is the Tyrant Guard, which was a kind of mini Carnifex, a mini kind of dreadnoughty style shock trooper, but it was designed purely to protect the hive tyrants. So it's got huge kind of chitin plates on its carapace, and it's a bodyguard effectively for the tyrants. Now, this kind of what we're able to touch upon with this now is the use of genetic material within the hive fleets. There's really only 3 kind of canonical crossovers, where the biovore, which is the small artillery piece, it includes orc DNA. So there's the zoanthrope, which is the psychic artillery, includes Eldar DNA. And the tyrant bodyguards includes Space Marine DNA.
Shut up.
So the Hive Fleet is using the universe's genetic material against itself.
Holy shit.
So,
which one's got Kral's DNA, do you think?
One of the Rippers at the top.
Yeah, a gargoyle.
Top left. Yep.
Yeah, it's just a god.
Ben, you're definitely a squig. Meh, there.
A squig. Meh, you're a squig.
I'm the zoanthrope, mate. I'm just a fucking head with a body hanging off it.
Yeah.
Massive cranium.
That's an insult to zoanthropes, Ben.
Which one's Dar? I feel like Dar's a Carnifex.
No, I'm the one under the classified sticker. Moving on. a gobshite gaunt. Yeah. There are now, from 8th edition onwards, even larger constructs. And with the addition of all the kind of psychic manipulation variants in the 10th edition, you can get some truly gargantuan and horrific monsters within the hive fleets. The largest single life form that you can table in 40k, just kind of out of the Tyranid Codex, is referred to as a Norn emissary, which is a hive tyrant crossed with a zoanthrope and then 1.5 times the size. Absolutely enormous. And is an absolute terror. And it's really, if the Norn Queen is the kind of hive mother, the Norn emissary is the favored child of that being, even though really it's simply an extension of the Norn Queen itself. You then have...
You say that there's a miniature for that?
Yeah. If you just Google Norn emissary.
Is it massive?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how much would it cost you to have that on the table?
I don't know in terms of points, but I think it's a £70 kit.
Right, okay.
In price, not in weight. That'd be ridiculous.
So what would be the equivalent mini, say, for like the Eldar? Like, is it one of the walkers?
In terms of what? Just size on the table?
Yeah, size. Yeah, power equivalents, I guess.
Yeah, it would be like... sort of like a knight, an imperial knight, kind of size.
Jobby.
Yeah.
There's one going on eBay for £577.59. Professionally painted. Is that worth? Is that a bargain, Darren?
No.
Would you encourage me to buy that right now? Right now?
You bought it, haven't you, Kral?
No,
tell me it was a good deal. Tell me it was a good deal. Tell me it was a good deal.
What happened over the last 10 seconds?
Okay, I bought it. Now what?
Now what do I do?
You told me it was a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to sell that, Kral, for £700.
Yeah. No, pro painted in quotes on eBay is a running joke. It just means someone's fired, I don't know, shoe polish at it. Yeah.
It means that it's not unpainted.
It's not unpainted, yeah. Okay. So yes, Tyranids, in the varied forms, are horrific, and I'll ensure that I include a few chosen snapshots in the show notes. But yeah, Google it yourself. I'm not you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Live your own life. So, Tyranid life forms.
Bam.
Yeah. Bam. Now, moving on, we want to talk about their interactions with the Imperium of Man. So there have been 4...
Just call them the Imperium. Just call them the Imperium. I know, we know who you mean.
Do you see what I have to put up with, listeners? This is what I have to put up with. There have been, as I had started to say, 4 tyrannic wars. And these, as it turns out, are not separate invasions. These are the vanguard tendrils of an enormous Tyranid organism. So it's one swarm about the size of a galaxy.
Wow.
And so it's the various tendrils, the various hive fleets that are coming in are they're the gene stealer equivalent of, you know, a smaller hive fleet. So these are the vanguard forces. So we have yet to see the full horror of the Tyranid organism spazzed all over the galaxy.
So hold on. There is a fleet coming to the galaxy that's the same size as the galaxy.
Rough estimates, yeah.
Do the Imperium know that?
They're starting to be aware that this is. I mean, the Tyranid,
the penny is dropping.
Organism. Yes, the penny's beginning to drop. I mean, they don't know how long that has existed. It's been within the kind of void between galaxies, possibly forever. It could be that the Tyranid life forms were the first ever life forms in the universe. They simply don't know. It could predate the Necrons, which we're now getting into.
They're starting to realize that that black dot on the picture that they took using their Hubble telescope may not have been a fly.
Yeah.
It may have actually been a fucking hive fleet.
Well, yeah, I've got nothing. Yep. Yes. So the first encounter with the Tyranids happened about 260-ish years before present in the Warhammer 40k universe. So the rough estimates puts us at about somewhere in the 12 to 20 years of the 42nd millennium. So we're in the kind of dawning of Millennium 42. And the Tyranid hive fleets began to appear around about 670 of the 41st millennium. So yes, about 300-ish years the Tyranids have been a threat for the Imperium. The first records of them would be the invasion by Hive Fleet Behemoth, or Behemoth. I've forgotten the jokey way we used to pronounce it because I'm too tired. It annihilated a Adeptus Mechanicus base on the planet of Tyran, or Tyran. The incident went on to give this organism its name. So the Tyranid name is an appellation given to them by the Imperium.
God, they must have been livid when they arrived on that planet and discovered the humans were only half human.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, when the Imperial forces arrived, there was just loads of cybernetic limbs just lying around,
just shaking, just wobbling
as they munched all the organisms. The record of the invasion by the Hive Fleet Behemoth was kind of fairly detailed, given that no one survived. And it was an Inquisitor called Inquisitor Kryptman, who is a head honcho when it comes to Tyranids. He discovered a record of it that was stored, beneath the kind of main base, beneath the Adeptus Mechanicus base, and was able to establish exactly what had happened, how and who and where, and other questions were able to be answered. And thus he identified a sort of existential threat to the Imperium and sent out kind of all points bulletins to the various high hegions of the Imperium of Man, Chris, of Man.
Imperium of who? Of bananas?
Banana.
Hey, that's a game I'd play. So this hive fleet attacked from the kind of galactic east, and the first kind of heavy, floppy tendril of the Tyranid organism slapped firmly onto in the realm of Ultramar, which is the Ultramarines' kind of protectorate subsystem of the Imperium. The chapter master, Marnus Calgar, who does sound like a really, really efficient toilet cleanser, yeah.
Hi, I'm Scary Bot, and I use Calgar.
So the Tyranid hive fleet really minced through the forces of the Ultramar kind of defense league, and ultimately identifying the kind of strongholds, the system strongholds, landed on Macragge, which is the Ultramarines' homeworld. So this was a fight of life against life on Macragge, where the Tyranids simply wanted to eat everything and digest it, because it's an unthinking beast, regardless of how aware some elements of it are. And ultimately, this combat led to some fairly significant last stands by the forces and peoples of Ultramar, and saw the first instance of a, in quotes, character model for the Tyranids, a hive tyrant referred to as the Swarm Lord, who is a hive tyrant equipped with 4 bone swords. And it is a superlative. It's the Alexander the Great of the Tyranid organism. And because the Tyranids exist in a kind of copy and paste reality, they're able to create multiple copies of that Swarm Lord, and various different hive fleets have that organism in it. But it only ever appears once at a time per hive fleet.
It's a bit. Swarm Lord is definitely a better name than Alex the Tyranid, isn't
it? Alexander the Tyranid.
Alexander.
It believes very.
But Alex to his friends.
In formality, yeah.
Just call me Alex. We don't have time. We're in an invasion.
Ultimately, the battle of the Macragge system was won by the Imperium, but at horrific costs. The space fleet, or the space battle, was only able to be won by the forces of Macragge when an Emperor-class battleship rammed into the hive fleet and detonated, destroying a ship that had the Norn Queen on it, meaning that the hive fleet couldn't replenish itself.
Oh, cool.
And then ultimately it was able to, the forces of the Imperium were able to destroy the Tyranids and free the planet of Macragge and its surrounding systems from its grasp. Unfortunately, on Macragge itself, the forces of the Ultramarines had pulled back, effectively retreated from battle after battle after battle, because there was just so many Tyranids on the planet. And they occupied then they were making their last stands at the polar stations on the planet. And when they were able to destroy the Swarm Lord and thus disrupt the land forces, the first company, can anyone remember what the first company in a chapter of Space Marines is?
Is the first the one that they graduate up to? Or is it do you mean first in terms of the order that they kind of go up through the ranks?
This physically pains me. That's the veteran company. That's the one with all the Terminators in it. So in the Terminator armor. Yeah. Oh, Terminators. Yeah.
You should have just said. Oh.
Should have said. The entirety of the first company was wiped out. Just dead to a man, ultimate last stand, and it took a fair while for the Ultramarines to rebuild that level of power and expertise in the first company. But Hive Fleet was effectively not only stopped, but pushed back, and ultimately effectively destroyed within or its leadership destroyed within the Macragge system. However, there are still significant numbers of Tyranids milling around like, 15-year-olds outside a community centre. They're just waiting for something to kick off.
Are they, so in terms of their kind of direction then, are they just fucked? They don't know what, if you remove the kind of the central mind from a fleet, what does that fleet do? Does it try and assimilate into another fleet? Does it retreat, or does it just kind of bounce around off of walls until it finds something to fight?
It's a great question. I think it's to do largely with what the individual members instinctively have to do.
Right.
If their leadership is disrupted. Like all the Gaunts are default aggressive. So if you take away any kind of command and control, they will just go on the offensive. But they do that without any direction. So they'll just attack anything rather than, a mind being able to focus them on a point of resistance that they're facing. So it disrupts them. Yeah, so that's the first Tyrannic War, which happened just under 300 years ago. The second Tyrannic War is where the Tyranid fleet Kraken, a very significant force of that hive fleet, attacks and overruns the craft world Iyanden. So you've got this wraithbone city in, sailing between the stars, and suddenly it's all-out war, as every single member of the Eldar race, including the dead, it has to be said, in Craftworld Iyanden, are mobilized to repulse the Tyranid hive fleet that comes in. We see, as we covered in the Eldar episodes, all of the aspect warriors, all of the citizens in there, all of the Wraith constructs, so the Wraith Guard and the Wraith Knights, and perhaps even Phantom Titans, which are the largest construct that the Eldar possess outside of actual ships, are activated, and the avatar of Cain comes to life or is brought to life, and thus the entire craft world is put on a war footing. So what you have are these amazing, if you can picture it, amazing scenes of hordes of aliens, swarms of aliens just rushing forward into these kind of delicate, almost Greek-style armored warriors, in the surroundings of what we would consider to be something like Atlantis, if you get my kind of classical meaning there. So that's
very cool.
Well-tended gardens and sculpted townships and cities within the kind of larger craft world. It's just all-out war. And Iyanden is only saved when the former or a former prince or a former autarch of Iyanden, Prince Iriel, who interestingly is one of the first Eldar named characters ever in 40k from first edition in Rogue Trader. His Eldritch Raiders, which is this Corsair pirate fleet, comes to the aid of Iyanden, even though he was outcast from the craft world itself. So he brought hundreds of ships, thousands and thousands of Eldar pirates who obviously they've just been raiding constantly. So they're veterans at this type of warfare, this kind of hit and run warfare. And he's pivotal in this battle as at the kind of the great height, the great kind of final moment, the final reckoning on the craft world was when the prince drives the Spear of Twilight, which is analogous to the Sword of Cain in fantasy. It's that level, it consumes your soul or it curses your bloodline, that kind of idea. Right. It's that kind of existential sacrifice. It drives it into the hive tyrant who's in charge of the Tyranid hive fleet, and suddenly all these golden halls falls silent as all these creatures default to their their connection to the hive mind is disrupted, and they
power down.
The creature, effectively, the larger creatures power down, and the kind of smaller creatures go on this default aggressive kind of attack, but it's mindless, and the Eldar, with their wizardy ways, are able to disrupt the hive fleet and purge the craft world completely of, any minute now, Tyranids. This obviously is horrific and not without an enormous cost, as effectively 9 out of every 10 Eldar on the craft world are killed, and so many of the waystones that the Eldar wear on them, where their souls can kind of take harbour in, were crushed and damaged, that an enormous percentage of Eldar are lost to Slaanesh, and it takes a significant kind of effort to rebuild the population, although it's seen by many as a craft world now that is more dead than dying. And ultimately, it's a lesson to all Eldar never to underestimate the Tyranids ever again.
Yeah. Jumped up, stuck up race.
Easy, Tiger, easy. The third tyrannic war is still ongoing. It started roughly about 30-ish years ago. It's Hive Fleet Leviathan, which are the kind of white/bone flesh with the purple carapace. You see them on the current edition of 40k. They're the big bad. That was focused on the kind of starter.
The big bod. Yeah.
The big bad. It's a significantly large, huge chunk of the galaxy is invaded, but of note at this stage, we should say, it's kind of brought to bear at the devastation of Baal, which is the Blood Angel homeworld, or Baal, depending on your pronunciation. So the kind of final tumultuous battle, we see that the Space Marine forces, which comprise of 26 chapters, plus a significant appearance of the Legion of the Damned. So we're talking about a battle significant within the kind of existential life of humanity. That's when the Legion of the Damned tend to appear. So the defenders were able to hold out against 19 kind of planetary waves of Tyranids because they were able to establish void shields around their defenses. And so were able to withstand the kind of more bombardment-styled warfare that happens before these land forces get in. Baal Secundus, unfortunately, which is where the Blood Angels have their chapter monastery, their fortress monastery, that was overrun, and a lot of the significant sites were destroyed. There is a place called Angel's Fall on Baal Secundus, and that's where the Primarch Sanguinius crash landed when he was an infant into the moon. And it's at that site where any prospective applicants for becoming a Blood Angel, they have to go through a huge kind of trek across deserts, and then they all fight to the death in the arena at Angel's Fall.
It's a real family day out.
Yeah. But the kind of forces on that moon retreat to the Blood Angels chapter or fortress monastery. As they're kind of preparing themselves to fight their kind of last stand, that's when the Great Rift opens up across the Imperium, and the Imperium is cleft in twain, cut in two. And so when the rift opens, a smaller kind of warp storm opens up in the Baal system, and a huge demonic legion of Khorne, led by a bloodthirster known as Kabantha, arrives in system and starts fighting everyone. And so it's that stage. I think I can't remember where we discussed it, but we were saying, you know, and this happened, and it's the best, and then this happened, and it's the best, and then this happened,
and then they took it even further off the hook.
Yeah. But listen, as this was happening, as we are now got Tyranids fighting Blood Angels and Demons, Demons fighting Tyranids and Blood Angels just hoping to survive with all the other chapters together. And then the Indomitus Crusade arrives, headed by the Primarch Rowboat Girly Man.
Excellent.
So a huge fleet of Primaris Space Marines arrives. And there's even more warfare and mayhem. And ultimately, not only are the Tyranids pushed back, but the demons are pushed back as well and driven from the system. And
those
it's at the end of that battle, we see that fully 10 chapters of the 26 are either destroyed outright or, you know, rendered completely useless down. Well, not useless, rendered down to a handful of survivors. It's also at the end of this battle where we see that Dante, the chapter master of the Blood Angels, is made regent of the Imperium Nihilus, the kind of the dark half of the Imperium of Man, Chris. So we have...
Who?
Yeah.
Never heard of them.
This leads us then into the fourth Tyrannic War, which has just started a fortnight ago. In terms of
it's pretty fresh in people's minds.
It's another tendril of the Tyranid organism coming up through Segmentum Pacificus. So it's coming up in the westernmost side of the galaxy, and again, we're looking at an enormous section of Tyranids coming up through the galactic plane. So it's attacking from the bottom of the universe in the west side. And that's the kind of focus of the current edition of 40k. The kind of, again, the fight of all against all. Go on.
So when you're saying 2 weeks, it's happened a fortnight ago, you don't mean in the lore, you mean like literally it's just been announced?
No, it was, I think it was last year that the new edition of 40k came out. So it's that. I was being humorous, Ben. It happens from time to time.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
So the fourth edition is the focus of, the fourth Tyrannic War is the focus of 10th edition 40k, the starter set. And that's the one ongoing.
What's that Hive fleet called?
Hive Fleet Leviathan.
Oh, it's the same as Leviathan, is it?
HMS Hive Fleet Leviathan.
.com/Leviathan.
HMS Die, you dirty Tyranid bastards.
Die, you dirty Tyranid bastards. So, yes, Tyranids. That's our kind of real kind of skim across the top of the Tyranids and their tyrannidy ways. Yeah. So we touched on the Inquisition, and Inquisitor Kryptman is the kind of, as I said, the head honcho in terms of how to fight Tyranids and their tyrannidy ways. I can give you an example of the levels to which the Inquisition will go to protect humanity. So there's a Tyranid Hive fleet is attacking part of Leviathan, I believe. So Inquisitor Kryptman, together with some Death Watch Space Marines, the Xeno Hunters Space Marine specialists, go off and they capture a load of gene stealers and put them in storage, cold storage. And what they do is they take those gene stealers and they put them on a space hulk. Now, you recall we talked about space hulks in the past, these huge conglomerations of spaceship and meteorite and what have you. So they then propel the space hulk into Orc space, into the Octarius region. And they're able to propel the space hulk by detonating a moon next to it. So they explode a moon, and the bow wave shoots the Space Hulk into orc space where it kind of disintegrates. And so you end up with these kind of jaggy meteorites of spaceship falling on all these orc planets. And each of these kind of jaggy meteorites contains one or more gene stealers who then infect the orc planet. And you end orc planets, plural. So you end up with lots of gene stealer cults based around orc physiology, fighting against all the orcs, and it's constant total warfare. That's and because some of these gene stealer cults are able to get supremacy on the planets they're on, they send out the psychic beacon to call a hive fleet, saying that this planet is ready to be, it's been disrupted enough to be devoured. And what that does is it pulls a tendril of one of these big hive fleets away from human space and into orc space, which was the goal of the Inquisition, or this Inquisitor Kryptman, in the first place. Now we have tyrannids fighting orcs, and orcs who love fighting and grow bigger and stronger when fighting. Regardless who wins, the outcome is horrific for the Imperium. But several systems were saved
in the short
from
term.
that.
Oh, good.
So that's the level of threat that the Inquisition deems the Tyranids.
Wow.
And we'll, as I say, we'll cover that in a lot more detail when we do our Tyranid deep dive. Anyway, thoughts?
Gnarly.
Yeah, everything's fucked, isn't it? There's no. How do you get rid of that? You can, there's no pest control that will deal with that kind of infestation, is there?
Absolutely not, man. Absolutely not. I'm still just drooling over the Know Your Foe chart. That looks so fucking cool, man.
Know your foe. So you said that the fleet is. So is there a name given to the galaxy-sized fleet, or they just call it an organism?
No, they've only just kind of come to realization that exists. So
Right.
what they've thought it was it's separate fleets attacking. You know, much like a larger fleet can be split into smaller naval fleets in our own world. They thought these were smaller fleets, but it's not. It's the it's the first kind of forces of this larger organism that's attacking from the galactic void. And I think I will close out helpfully with another image, which is which I shared with you guys. It's a map, and that's showing the hive fleets attacking from the kind of the way it's illustrated, attacking from the top and bottom of the kind of galactic plane. So if you think of the galaxy as a plate, it's actually, we're in a pincer movement of Tyranid hive fleets attacking from the top and the bottom, you know, spanning the galaxy, as it were. So yes, certainly an existential threat.
Yeah.
The forces of chaos, and, you know, in all, it's kind of the demons and the Chaos Space Marines are as much food to the Tyranids as the forces of good, in quotes. Except the demons, they can't munch on the demons.
Okay, so we had a conversation a while back where we said, okay, fast forward 1,000 years or however long, who wins? And you said Tyranids, which I can totally see now. Follow-up question. If the Imperium of man, Chris, of man, not the other Imperiums, teamed up with the Necrons, don't ask how, the Tau, and the Eldar.
Don't ask why.
Don't ask why.
Don't ask where.
Could all four of those beat the Tyranids? Or beat the Tyranids and Chaos?
I'd say the Imperium, there's a plan being held by Inquisitor Kryptman. It's easy for you to say, Barbara. They have like a disease, a genetic kind of phage that they've developed based off of the DNA of one of these lictors, you know, the kind of praying mantis-y dudes. And the hope is that if they can get this into the Tyranid hive fleet itself, it will not only disrupt but cripple the Norn Queens and allow them to to be destroyed, and so blunts the notion of the endless tide of the Tyranids coming, constantly being remade.
It's Independence Day.
Effectively, yeah. It's independent. They're Independence Daying I mean, I think the ultimate goal is to have
Jeff Goldblum
Will Smith run up and
penetrate
slap,
mothership
one of the Norn Queens.
Yeah.
Step all over my fucking great line, Chris. Thanks, man.
Oh dear. Right. Well, everything is fucked, listeners.
Why are we even bothering? Yeah.
I hope that's fucked you up as much as it has done me. Right, we got to wrap up. All right, that's all from us. Thank you so much for listening. Details and imagery for the topics we've discussed in this podcast can be found on our website at layingdownthelore.com. We also have all our previous episodes on there, release schedules and merch, delicious merch. Again, if you're keen to support the show, please click on the Quartermaster link in the description and give us all of your Tyranid
credits.
Nice, thanks, Cal. We'll be back again soon displaying just how little Chris knows about Gaunt. Until then, goodbye.
You're a Gaunt. Ta-ra. Bye-bye.
You better eat it or I'll eat you.